In the frozen heart of the Ural Mountains, in the dead of winter 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished under circumstances so bizarre, they defied logic, science, and reason. Their names: Igor Dyatlov, Yuri Krivonishenko, Rustem Slobodin, Zina Kolmogorova, Ludmila Dubainina, Alexander Kolovatov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, Alexander Zolotaryov, and Yuri Doroshenko. Students, engineers, skiers, adventurers. They were not lost. They were not unprepared. And yet, they never returned. On January 23, the group began their journey into the northern Urals, aiming to reach Ural Mountain, a peak whose name means "don't go there" in the local Mansi language. It was a challenging route, but they were skilled. Their equipment was solid. Their plans were documented. For the first week, all was normal. Diaries recovered later showed entries about snow conditions, campfires, and camaraderie. But on February 1st, everything changed. Their tent was found on February 26th, cut open from the inside, abandoned in a blizzard, tilted by wind, half buried in snow. Not collapsed, not blown away, cut open, as if they had fled in panic. And then, the footprints, leading away from the tent, into -30 degrees Celsius darkness. Barefoot, in socks, in one shoe. No signs of struggle. No blood. No screams. Just a trail of steps, leading into the unknown. The first 5 bodies were found in February, scattered between the tent and a large cedar tree, 1.5 kilometers away. 2 had died of hypothermia near the tree, still trying to build a fire. 3 others were found along the way, frozen in the snow, as if they had collapsed while searching for shelter. But the last 4? They weren't found until May, buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. And their injuries were unlike anything ever seen. One man, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, had a massive skull fracture, yet no external wound. Ludmila Dubainina, one of the women, was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. Her chest? 5 ribs shattered, internal organs crushed, but no bruising on the skin. How could force strong enough to break bones leave the flesh untouched? The official autopsy reports were sealed for decades. When they were finally released, they revealed more questions than answers. Some of the hikers' clothing was laced with low-level radiation. Not enough to kill, but enough to be noticed. Why? Were they near a secret military test? A nuclear facility? Or something else? Then there was the orange skin, noted in several autopsies. A strange discoloration on the faces of some victims, like a chemical burn, or exposure to unknown elements. Was it frostbite? Or something more sinister? And the clothing. Some of it had been cut apart. Not by animals, but by human hands. Pieces were missing. Later, investigators found a jacket sleeve in another hiker's backpack, made from the fabric of a dead companion's coat. Were they trying to survive by wearing the dead? The Soviet investigation lasted months. Then, abruptly, it was closed. The final verdict? A compelling natural force. No explanation. No suspects. No details. Just silence. But what kind of natural force could cause this? The most accepted theory, a katabatic wind. A sudden, violent rush of cold air down the mountain slope. It could have caused disorientation, panic, and forced them to flee the tent in seconds. But why cut it open from the inside? Why not try to return? And why were the last 4 buried so deeply, yet not by avalanche debris? In 2019, scientists proposed a slab avalanche, a delayed snow slide that starts slowly, then accelerates. It could explain the injuries and the tent cut. But critics say the slope was too gentle, and no avalanche debris was ever found. Then there's the Monsi theory. The local indigenous people considered this land sacred. Some believe the hikers trespassed and were killed in retaliation. But no evidence of attack. No footprints. No weapons. Or was it military involvement? The area was near a secret missile base. Could they have stumbled on a test? Were they silenced? The radiation traces feed this theory, but no documents have ever confirmed it. In 2020, Russian authorities reopened the case. They concluded an avalanche. But many experts still reject it. Because the injuries don't match. Because the footprints show no fear. Just steady walking into the cold. Because one hiker's final diary entry read, "It's getting darker. The wind is picking up." Not panic. Just observation. And then silence. Could it have been ball lightning? A rare electrical phenomenon that can cause burns and radiation? Some researchers believe so. Or infrasound. Low-frequency sound waves from wind that can trigger fear, disorientation, even madness? There's evidence the mountain could produce such waves. But nothing explains the force required to break ribs without breaking skin. Nothing explains why one woman's clothing contained 3 times the normal radiation level. Nothing explains why a hiker's camera, recovered years later, showed one final photo. A blur of snow. And what looks like a glowing orb in the sky. In 2013, a group of climbers visited the site. They reported strange compass behavior. A sudden drop in temperature. And one man claimed to hear whispers in Russian. Though no one else did. They left early. Today, a wooden cross marks the summit where the bodies were found. Visitors leave notes, photos, and small tokens. Some claim to feel watched. Others say the wind sounds like voices. The Dyatlov Pass remains off limits to tourists. The Russian government still classifies parts of the investigation. And the families? Many still demand answers. Was it nature? Human error? Secret weapons? Or something we cannot yet understand? One thing is certain. 9 hikers went into the mountains. None came out. And the snow still keeps its secrets. In the years since, the case has inspired books, films, and documentaries. Some believe the hikers encountered Yeti-like creatures. Others suggest UFOs or interdimensional rifts. But the truth? It may be buried deeper than the bodies themselves. In 2018, a team of forensic experts re-examined the autopsy photos. They concluded that the chest trauma was consistent with a fall from height. Perhaps into the ravine. But how did they get there? Why were they so poorly dressed? And why did some have 3rd-degree burns? With no source of fire? The mystery endures. Not because of missing data, but because the data we have makes no sense. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most haunting unsolved cases in history. A perfect storm of tragedy, secrecy, and the unknown. And as long as the wind howls through those frozen peaks, the question will remain: what really happened on that night? In February 1959? If you want more cases like this, Subscribe to Hidden Case Log, we drop new mysteries every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And hit the bell, because the next case might be even stranger. Subscribe to Hidden Case Log, where mysteries never stay buried. What really happened? Comment below.